All right, so in this last sermon, we're doing some cultural apologetics now. We're looking at ideas and thoughts and patterns in our culture that go against the biblical worldview. And we're learning how to defend ourselves against these wrong ways of thinking and seeing things. So in this particular instance, we're talking about issues like race and class divisions, gender divisions, all of these things that divide us. And it's a pretty controversial topic, but what we're looking at is really this primary statement. The world seeks to label and divide us, but Christ seeks to unite us. And we're looking at this biblical theme of unity opposed to a world that seems to be becoming more and more divided. So number one, we are looking at the principle, no favoritism. And we looked at James chapter 2 that says, don't show partiality. It's pretty clear that we're not supposed to treat someone just based on their external looks, their class distinctions. We're not supposed to treat those people differently in any way. We're supposed to show them the same love, the same character, just that we would show anyone. So number one is don't show partiality. And along with that is God judges impartially. And we looked at that principle as well. The impartial judgment of God does not show distinctions. He doesn't care where you're from or what you're doing or what you look like. All he cares is your character internally towards God, not your external appearances. And so that no favoritism was principle one. Principle two is our shared human story. And our human story is a beautiful one. From the biblical perspective, the worldview of the Bible shows us that we came from one set of parents. We're all united in one human family. We're all descendants of Adam and Eve. And so we share this same genetic ancestry. It was broken and divided because of sin. And we see from the first two brothers, they're killing one another. And then the Tower of Babel, we see divisions among nations and peoples. But ultimately, Christ comes, and he unites us as one in him. And there's no longer any Greek. There's no longer any slave. There's no longer free. There's no longer Scythian, but one in Christ. And ultimately, we see that that's exactly the picture of heaven. All races, all peoples, all nations united as one in him. He is our true identity. And then finally, we looked at some destroying dividers. That third portion, destroying dividers, we looked at some cultural winds that have blown our way. And we see terminology like white privilege and intersectionality. And we see some of these things that seem to be doing the job of trying to get rid of racism, but in reality are actually causing racism. And so we want to be careful as Christians with transformed minds that we remember the biblical worldview, that all are to be treated equally, all are to be understood and judged under the same truth and moral values, under God's wisdom. And that doesn't have anything to do with our skin color, our richness, or our poverty. It doesn't have anything to do with our gender. It all has to do with who we are in Christ. And that is our unity.